Okay, I'd like to call to order the City of Camarillo Planning Commission regular meeting of Tuesday, February 6, 2024, and our first meeting at the Camarillo Library. Would you, Mr. Secretary, please take roll?
Commissioner Vandermeulen.
Present. Commissioner
Murphy.
Here.
Commissioner Davidson.
Here.
Vice Chair Lamone.
Present.
Chair Edsel.
Here. Okay, we'd stand for the pledge, and Mr. Davidson will lead us in the pledge.
Please place your hand over your heart and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on the agenda is our consent item, which tonight consists of the minutes from our meeting of January 16th, 2024. Are there any additions or corrections to those, or entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move to approve.
Second.
And moved by Mr. Murphy and seconded by Ms. Lamone. All vote. I guess we're doing a hand vote since we don't have our, just all in favor.
We'll do one by one. Commissioner Davidson,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandermeulen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lamone,
Yes.
and Chair Edsel.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next our agenda item, we're moving to the public comments, and this is the time where any member of the public can speak on a non-agenda item. Is there anybody here tonight that wants to speak on something that's not on tonight's agenda? And yeah, if you could come up to the microphone, please.
Yes, my name is Hamid Nikfor. I am the president of the Gulfville 1 HOA, and I've been several of the homeowners have brought issues to my attention. That's
Let me stop you right there, because this is there's going to be a public comment on when we get to that on the agenda item. This is the part if someone wants to talk on something that's not on tonight's agenda.
The agenda is the specifics are not on that agenda. So should I wait till the end, or?
Let's ask the city attorney.
Sure, yes. So if I understand correctly, your public comment, does it relate to this project, the Spanish Hills Bungalow, in any way, shape, or form?
They are.
Okay, so that there's going to be a time set aside when that item comes up for you to address the commission on your concerns.
Okay, then I'll wait.
Yeah, we'll bring you back up. It's just, okay, seeing no other comments on a non-agenda item, we'll close the public comment and then move on to item B, which is CUP 79M8. And I think Mr. Davidson, let's put something on the record.
Yes, I'm going to recuse myself as I'm a member of Spanish Hills Club, and so I'll recuse myself and leave for the duration of this item.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm James Fowler. Tonight I'm bringing forth CUP 79M8, that's modification 8 for the Spanish Hills bungalows. So the project location is on the corner of Crestview and Cayetera Vista there. A little bit of background for you. The Spanish Hills Golf Course is a private membership 18-hole course with golf practice facilities, tennis courts, a fitness center, pool, locker rooms, restaurant, and lounge. Private events like weddings are frequently hosted at the site, and the original golf course approval was from 1987. So the request, the applicant is requesting a major modification to the conditional use permit for the addition of 9 bungalows, a concierge building, parking lots, which include underground parking, and the court, which is sort of the primary new building, a building with a maximum height in excess of 35 feet, which includes a fitness center and spa with 12 lofts. It's important to note that the lofts is a term to differentiate them from the detached bungalows, but in fact, the lofts meet the definition of a bungalow as well. The applicant is also requesting a minor modification for a 20% reduction in proposed building setbacks. That's specifically for the setback for the court as it relates to the rest of the golf course. So it's not a reduction for the setbacks facing the street in any way, shape, or form. So the general plan and zoning, the zoning is rural exclusive. The general plan designation is rural density residential. And the site plan. So I can barely see it with my poor eyesight, but there are there are 3 bungalow buildings to the north there, certain of which, or rather one, has 3 bungalows within it, so a total of 5 bungalows for that northern portion that abuts Calle Terra Vista, kind of sandwiched between the tennis courts and Calle Terra Vista. For the southern portion, we have 4 bungalows and a concierge building, and then the court building. And the court building, once again, has a fitness center, spa, locker rooms, retail space, and the 12 lofts. Here's an image of the east and west elevations for the concierge building. The concierge building is in the Spanish Mission style. It's on the southern side of the property, adjacent to the proposed roundabout. I'll just hop back to the site plan real quick. You can see the roundabout there. It's on the property, the golf course property. The concierge building is a total of 960 square feet. There's the north and south elevations there. This is Maya Kama. It's the largest bungalow at 1,808 square feet with a central great room of 600 square feet. The bungalow has 3 bedrooms, a living room, and 3 bathrooms. It's on the north side of the property, closest to the golf course, kind of on the ridge or next to the ridge that abuts the golf course. We have Ojai. Ojai is a bungalow model. There are actually 2 different Ojai buildings. That's why it says front and rear rather than north and south or east and west, because they have different orientations, but that's the front and south there. Both Ojai models are on the southern end of the site. These units are 874 square feet and have a bedroom, living room, bathroom, and outside area in the form of a patio. This is the combination bungalow building where there are 3 different bungalows attached. So Palma and Alisal, and I'm sure I'm butchering those names, so I hope you'll be patient with me. Palma and Alisal are the 2 on the first floor. They each have a bedroom, bathroom, living room, and private courtyard. Soy Waimar is the bungalow on the second floor. It has a bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, dining room, living room, and terrace. The 3 bungalow unit building is on the north side of the property adjacent to the tennis courts. Palma is 842 square feet, Alisal is 856 square feet, and Soy Waimar is 1,166 square feet. Oh, I apologize, I went too fast there. That's the north and south elevation there, and then I'll go back east and west there. This is Rancho Valencia 1. There are 2 Rancho Valencia 1 units. It's composed of a kitchen, dining room, living room, bedroom, bathroom, and patio with a jacuzzi. There are, once again, 2, one on the northeastern end of the property, the other along the main entrance to the golf course. Both models are 1,062 square feet. There's the north and south elevations there. Then we have Rancho Valencia 2. It's 1,558 square feet with 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen, a living room, a dining room, and an outdoor jacuzzi area. It's located on the southern end of the property between the southern Rancho Valencia 1 and the court building. Then we have the court. Here are the south and east elevations. The court is a 2-story building with a fitness center spa. This is where the locker rooms, the spa, the fitness center are proposed. A small retail space and the 12 lofts. There are 6 lofts on the first floor, 6 on the second, and then of course the fitness center, spa, locker rooms, retail space is also on the first floor. To correct a typo on the agenda report, the total area of the loft space on the first floor and not the second floor is 5,020 square feet. The rest of the uses on the first floor are 8,764 square feet. The underground parking is below the court building. And then there are another, like I said, another 6 lofts on the second floor with a total area of 12,311 square feet. You can see here the first floor plan. I apologize if it's a little difficult to read there, but once again, composes the fitness center, spa, locker rooms, retail space, and then 6 of the lofts. The second floor has the other 6 lofts. Here we have the preliminary landscaping plan. They're actually increasing the amount of trees on the lot rather than decreasing by 11 trees. As far as the environmental review, the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act under an infill exemption. It's important to note the site was previously graded and disturbed, and no special circumstances exist that would disqualify the exemption. Tonight's recommended action is to find the proposed project exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act and to adopt a resolution approving CUP 79 Modification 8, the Spanish Hills Bungalows. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Commissioners have any questions of Mr. Fowler?
I think my questions are more for the developer, if we have.
Okay. How about you, Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, mine might be too, but I'm wondering if there are other golf courses that have this bungalow concept.
So I'm
in
sure
the-
they exist in our local area. I'm not aware of any. The developer might be able to speak to that more authoritatively, being in the industry, but I'm not aware of any locally and certainly none in the city of Camarillo.
Okay. And then the fitness center and the spa within the court, is that for the exclusive use of the guests that will be at the bungalows and the lofts?
I do believe so. That portion of the business model wasn't fleshed out to us. I'm sure the developer will be able to answer that, though. But I believe so.
Okay, that's great. And this is probably for the applicant, but I'm curious about the retail space and what type of retail.
I'm striking out here. I can't speak to the retail space.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Ms. Commissioner Lamont? No? Yeah, I just had a question, on one of the descriptions, they talked about the transient living lots. Is that a definition under the code, or?
It's not a definition under the code. I think it was an attempt to kind of differentiate for the sake of discussion. We have these bungalows that are detached and versus these lofts that are in the main structure. However, the lofts do meet the definition of a bungalow, which is an allowed use in the code. It might be helpful for me to just read the definition of the bungalows if you'd like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So guest bungalows are individual living units built on a single parcel of land and operated as part of a private golf course, offering independent living as temporary accommodations not to exceed 30 consecutive days for members of the golf course country club or their guests. The units may include provisions for living, sleeping, cooking, sanitation, and parking.
Okay.
So nothing about the lofts conflicts with any of
Okay.
that.
So it's kind of rent them out like hotel rooms or accommodations?
Yes and no. It's clear here that it's meant solely for the country club members or their guests, but other than that, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I don't
Okay, then I guess we will open the public hearing, and I'd ask the applicant if they'd like to come forward and give a presentation.
They should get the presentation up shortly.
And please state your name for the record.
My name is Jonathan Bailey, and I'm here representing the applicant Gulf Realty Fund for the bungalows and lofts at Spanish Hills. Good evening, Planning Commission. James took a lot of what I had in my presentation tonight, so some of it I'll just be glossing over to not repeat. But I would like to share with you our vision for the bungalows and lofts at Spanish Hills. And our vision is threefold. One is the bungalow and loft project will help preserve what is a truly iconic golf and tennis facility at Spanish Hills Club for the members and future generations and for the entire city of Camarillo by adding very necessary improvements that will help Spanish Hills Club attain economic viability. Two, the bungalow and lofts will create a world-class fitness center and spa for not just those that would be staying at the bungalows and lofts. One of you, I know, just had a question about that, but it is also going to be for the members of Spanish Hills Club, both the golf and the tennis facilities. Three is to create world-class guest accommodations for golf and tennis members, out-of-the-area members, members visiting families and guests, and guests attending events at the club, including weddings, banquets, charitable events, and tournaments. Augusta Golf Club in Georgia, where the Masters is held, they have the cabins. Burnham Wood Club in Santa Barbara, Montecito, they have the cottages, and they actually have, I think, over 30 of them. Our vision is that Spanish Hills Club will have the bungalows and the lofts. This is a blow-up of our schematic site plan, and it is overlaid on an aerial of the existing facility. So as you can see, you have the existing golf clubhouse, the existing tennis clubhouse, and then this is how our proposed development would fit in with all of that. The letters that are on the buildings, those delineate the individual type of unit, so to speak. So if you start in the bottom left, the C, that stands for concierge. So that is the concierge building. The two O's, that is the Ojai model that James showed you. RV1 is Rancho Valencia 1, and that is a typical one-bedroom model, and there's two of those. Rancho Valencia 2 next to it, that is a typical two-bedroom unit. There's one of those. And then you have the court building, and the court building has the 12 lofts. As James said, there's 9 total bungalows, and there's 12 total lofts. For all intents and purposes, they're the same thing. The whole point of calling them bungalows versus calling them lofts is just to differentiate that the bungalows are standalone units and the lofts are a part of the court building. That's the only difference. Then moving north, the M, that's the biggest bungalow. That's the Maikama bungalow that is 1,800 square feet and has the 600 square foot outdoor great room. And then you have another Rancho Valencia 1 model, and then the P, S, and A, that stands for Palma, Alisal, and Solimar. This is a blow-up of the landscape plan. James also just had it up there. As James mentioned, the southern portion of the project is currently a parking lot. And very few trees. There's some trees that are in the center median of the parking lot that are proposed to be removed. Other than that, there are no trees in that section that are proposed to be removed. In the northern part, that is landscape. That area has been graded several times, and the landscaping was installed by the club. And in total, in both parts, we are proposing to remove roughly 30 trees. And in this landscaping plan, amongst all the other landscaping that is proposed, is that we will be planting 41 new trees. So there will actually be 11 more trees than there are there right now. Also, I think it is important to note that none of the trees that are being removed have any native or they're not native and they're not protected trees. And all existing trees and vegetation within the proposed construction footprint, like I said, were planted by the club. Existing street frontage vegetation will remain as is, so the public views of the project will remain relatively unchanged. Existing trees are matured, providing ample shade for public sidewalks. The next part of the presentation are the elevations, which I know you all saw through the architectural review, and then James went over them again. So I'm just going to flip through these, but if you would like me to pause on a certain slide, please let me know. This is the north and west elevations of the court building, so north being facing the tennis courts and the west being on the interior of the property facing the clubhouse. Then the south is the Crestview view, and the east elevation is the Tierra Vista view. This is the first floor footprint. The left half of the court building is where all of the fitness center and spa amenities are. I know there was a question about the retail center. The retail center is, as you can see, it's in the foyer, in the atrium of entering the court building, is that it's not really its own dedicated space, so to speak. It's more just to have things like if someone needed to buy, some snacks or sunscreen or maybe a swimsuit for the pool, something like that. It's not, it's basically everything is gonna be in glass shelves, not a huge space, not an integral part of the facility. And then on the right side are 6 of the loft units. These are the smaller of the loft units that are in the court building, all 1 bedrooms. This is the second floor of the court building. This has the other 6 lofts and the bigger of the 6 lofts, the 2-bedroom and the 3-bedroom models. This is the underground parking structure. It has 40 parking stalls. Now moving to the bungalows. These are the elevations for the concierge building. This is the floor plan for the concierge building. The Rancho Valencia 1 elevations. So like I said, this is a typical 1-bedroom bungalow. This is the floor plan for the same. Rancho Valencia 2. Yeah. This is the floor plan for Rancho Valencia 2. This is the My Cama. This is the biggest bungalow with the outdoor great room. And this is the floor plan. So it's a 3-bedroom bungalow with 2 master bedrooms. So besides the project that is before you tonight, that is proposed before you, there have been other really great recent club improvements that can both speak to the build quality and what you can expect to see from the bungalow and loft project, and also that will further complement the bungalow and loft project and complement the club right now. So most recently, there was a dining room and terrace renovation that was done. This cost over $2.5 million and took over 2 years to complete. It was just completed in November of last year, and it includes a new restaurant at the club that is called Topa. And then there was also a lounge and ballroom renovation that cost roughly $500,000, and that was completed in late 2020. The 2 images here are of the dining room and terrace renovation. The top one is the dining room, and the bottom one is the outdoor terrace. Turned out very nicely. And also, this is the same sort of material and architecture that you can expect from the bungalow and loft project. The materials board that we picked out matches the aesthetic of the clubhouse, including these renovations. Benefits to the community and the club. As I said in our vision, is that we believe the bungalow and lofts will preserve the iconic golf and tennis facilities at Spanish Hills Club and add improvements that will help Spanish Hills Club attain economic viability. They will do this because they very much bolster and support the club's event business, which is one of its primary revenue sources. And by having the bungalows and lofts, it will allow the club to further capitalize on those events. And then also it will allow the club to begin prospecting out-of-area members. So these could be members that live in the desert, like Palm Desert, La Quinta, that want to come here during the summer. It could prospect people from the Midwest, East Coast, maybe even Canada, that want to escape the winters. By having somewhere for them to stay right on premise and truly a five-star place to stay with a bunch of ample amenities. The club is very confident that they would be able to sell a lot of out-of-area memberships and get a lot of visitors to Camarillo. And the fitness center and spa will not only be great amenities to these out-of-area members or the guests of the bungalows and lofts, but they will also be great amenities to Spanish Hills Club and its members. So some of these amenities are the performance therapy, the expansive gym in the fitness center, the spa, which includes massage treatment rooms. There's also a yoga pavilion, Pilates, steam room, and a sauna, amongst other things. And so overall, we believe the bungalow and loft project is an excellent complement to the existing golf and tennis facilities. And we also think that this fits in perfectly with the city's economic development strategic plan. Reading the economic development strategic plan, I was there actually in October for the State of the City with Mayor Santangelo, and she spoke at length about that plan and the city's steps going forward of how to continue implementing that plan. And further reading the plan is that the overarching goal of the plan is to foster high-quality economic growth. And we believe that this project does exactly that. And more specifically, as is defined in the plan, is that we believe this is infrastructure that supports and bolsters economic development. It also preserves the community character because, like we said, is that we believe that it will preserve the iconic golf and tennis facility. And then also, it will attract more visitors, like I said, with the out-of-area memberships and attracting people that otherwise might not come to Camarillo, stay in Camarillo, is that will, we believe, greatly bolster the economy here and provide much-needed revenue to the city. Oh, and to reiterate, Augusta has the cabins, Burnham Wood has the cottages, and Spanish Hills will have the bungalows and lofts. And that is our vision for this sort of project and who we are trying to emulate. And those are all very private, exclusive clubs, much like Spanish Hills. So, lastly, why approve the bungalows and lofts? One, it ensures Spanish Hills Club's long-term viability. Two, it will bring new people to Camarillo. It aligns with the city's economic development strategic plan, as I just outlined. The traffic study is very clear that this project will have a minimal impact, if any impact whatsoever, on the surrounding community. There are no reasonable noise concerns because the project will comply with the municipal code. Nothing to suggest otherwise. As James pointed out, the project is categorically exempt from CEQA. And then with the trees, is to harken back on that, is we are actually adding trees, we are adding vegetation to the property. And then also, some may not know this, but there was actually a prior iteration of this plan that was already unanimously approved by Planning Commission about 15 years ago, but unfortunately that was right before the great financial crisis, and because of that, the plan did not go forward and the approvals expired. And so really the biggest difference between that plan that was approved before and this plan that's before you is the addition of the court building with the fitness center and the spa. The bungalows were a part of that prior approval, but the court building was not. And then lastly is planning staff spent hundreds and hundreds of hours, and they have decided to make an approval for recommendation. And I think that speaks volumes. So that is all I have for you tonight. Thank you for your time, and I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner, questions for the applicant?
Yes, I do. Thank you for your presentation. Can you go over the new access point?
Yeah, let me go back to the site plan. So the one off of Calle Tierra Vista.
Yes.
What is the question?
Where exactly is it on the map?
So it's, is there a pointer on this? Yeah, right there.
Okay, that would be the new one.
Correct.
Okay, and that runs behind the homes, right? So it's not going in front of any residences.
Correct.
The traffic.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, I don't have any other questions.
Can I
I'll
Yes,
jump on.
Commissioner Vandermoor?
Yeah, I'll jump onto that a little bit, because it looks like the drive where it is kind of blind looking both ways, because that's a main street that's going up there right outside. And it's right across from the drive into the subdivision across the street.
Mm-hmm.
So what type of, when you're coming out, I mean, because to me, it looks like it's really difficult. I know I've got a little curve just outside of where I live, down to a main street, and I can't see the cars coming from the distance around the curve. This looks a little bit like the same type of a situation. And when I looked at the overall map, looking up the road, I don't see any place where there's any stop signs along that road to slow traffic down. And the city might, I don't know, if they would eventually maybe look into that street going up with cars coming down. Because I know the cars travel pretty fast along Crestview. I'm not sure how they drive on that street. So, and then where the two-story, there was one unit that had a second floor to it, I believe?
The court building has a second floor to it. Do you want
Okay.
me to go to the court building?
No. Well, the second floor of the court building is the 12, or the other 6 lofts, right?
Correct.
But there was one building when we looked at it that had more like a tower or something on it. I thought it was one of the individual, like the Cedars.
Oh, so the bungalows that are, the Palma, the Solimar, and the Alisal, so the PSA, if you see that collection right there, those have a second story to them. But the height is far less than the court building.
Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't sure where that second story fit in there. So, but,
Is that right, James? Yeah.
and then if you're staying in one of those 5 bungalows in the back,
Mm-hmm.
how are you gonna get around to the main clubhouse, the golf course?
So the
Pro
side,
shop would-
so it's kind of hard to see, but there's these sidewalks that are either already existing or being implemented. So you would, if you were staying here, you would come down this sidewalk right here, and then, I mean, you can either enter the court building right here, or continue along to the tennis side, or then continue along to the golf clubhouse right here.
And where's the pro shop?
So the pro shop, I
Or
believe
the
the pro
golf
shop,
course? The golf course pro shop.
I believe
Right there.
that's right here. Is that right, Alan? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have lots of questions, but I can hold them till everybody else gets
Okay.
done.
How about you, Mr. Murphy? You have any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, so, thank you for coming and your presentation. Appreciate it. It's a very interesting looking project. On the fitness center and spa, will there be separate memberships sold for that?
No, I don't believe so. The idea is that they would be, so if you're a member of Spanish Hills Club, you have access to those facilities.
Okay, great. So that would not add to the trip generation then, because you don't have a separate membership that is coming to
Correct.
use that facility.
Correct. It would only be the Spanish Hills Club members and then the guests of the bungalows and lofts.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're still in our public hearing, so if there's anybody in the public who would like to
Can I
speak.
finish my questions then?
Oh, I'm
for him?
sorry. I thought, okay. Yes, go ahead.
And tagging on to this question, if the fitness center is available to all members of the club, of the golf course club, the club, won't eventually maybe the guests that are staying in this new loft guest house area, this visiting area, would they sometimes have trouble getting into the fitness area because it could be crowded from people from outside coming to use it?
I don't believe so, because right now there already is a fitness center that is at the golf clubhouse that's used by members. And that's significantly smaller than what we're proposing. And really, you're only adding I mean, it's a total of, combined bungalows and lofts, 21. I don't think that that is going to result in such a greater populace going to use the gym at the same time to create an issue, because like I said, I think that they could definitely use more room and a nicer facility at the golf clubhouse, but they already are able to manage that with the current membership. So with the current membership plus, into a bigger facility plus whoever's staying at the 21 units, we don't foresee that being an issue.
So 21 units, how many bedrooms is that?
The total bedroom count, do you remember off the top of your head?
So basically, it could be considerable.
I would say the average is, I would say it's probably about 40. Maybe just under 40.
Okay, so you could have 60 people or so visiting at any one time in there.
Maximum in theory, sure. But I believe, really quick, if you don't mind, how many members are at the club right now? Across all categories? 740 members at the club right now.
Okay. The distance from this new court area and the bungalows areas to go around to check in to play golf is quite a distance. So what accommodations do you have other than walking to that area planned?
We can pick them up in golf carts, have, some sort of ride service to take them, from down Kayatira Vista, then onto Crestview and to the main entrance of the club. Overall, I think we would leave that to the club operators to figure out the best way to serve the guests, but I think that there are ample ways for them to do so.
Okay. To me, it just seems like it's quite a ways away from, if you want to really draw potential golf members, it's a long way for them to come visit where they're visiting and then get around to be able to play golf and get to the pro shop.
Probably someone that works at the golf clubhouse, them phoning in saying, hey, I would like to play a round of golf, and bringing the cart to them. That would probably, just thinking right now, that'd probably be the way to go.
Yeah, because you can't really, if you want to drive or come over just to eat or something from the bungalows, you actually have to drive out and back in and around. There's no roads to
If you had
drive.
a car, if you used a car instead of a golf cart, yeah.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying, if you used a golf cart, then you could use, you could just go through the property instead, and that would be a much shorter path to traverse.
Yeah, to me, my mind is thinking, if I'm a guest there,
Mm-hmm.
what is it going to be like? What's going to be the challenges for the guests that are there?
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm looking at additional
But
people
if they want to
coming
play
in.
tennis, they're very close.
Tennis is close, the pool is close. If you want to play golf, you're quite a ways away from it. Do you have anything planned for people to store their golf clubs?
Yeah, so in the concierge building, right here, so you see the baggage storage that's part of the concierge building? That would be a
Oh.
great place for people to store golf clubs, luggage, amongst other things.
Okay. You think you could get 80 sets of golf clubs in there?
Well, I'm sure that the golf clubhouse could be a good place to store golf clubs too, but
Okay. And if a member that's not staying there came and just wanted to use that fitness center, come in and use that fitness center for a while and then leave,
yeah, correct.
they would have to park in the main parking lot on the other side of the gatehouse?
Instead of using the parking that's designated for the bungalows and lofts, I would say so, to use the main clubhouse parking. That would definitely be preferred. I suppose that if there weren't very many people at the bungalows and lofts, that they weren't particularly busy at that time, and there was parking available, then it wouldn't be a big deal for them to park in those parking lots. But in a normal course of things, this thing doesn't want to go back. In normal course of things, I would say yes. They would probably park in the main parking lot and then walk over.
And what side was the parking, the opening entrance for the parking under the court, that's over on the east side there off of where it says fitness?
Correct.
Okay, so you have another drive coming into the road. Is that the only way to get into the underneath parking area?
Yes. So if I go back to the court building.
Okay.
So the landscape plan actually kind of shows you the entrances a little
Yeah.
bit better there.
And if this is all built and established, put in, and is in use, are you going to go back to manning the guardhouse, the gatehouse at the entrance? That there's nobody there now to check people in?
Yes. I mean, we haven't totally thought about that or considered that, but I think that's a good idea.
I mean, right now, there's nobody living, staying there
Correct.
with stuff.
Correct.
But if you get to the point where people are residing in,
Then yes,
The court.
we would need that for sure.
I would think you would need that protection there for them.
Agreed.
Um,
28. I was just told there are 28 bedrooms, so I was very high on my count.
Okay, all right, thank you. I think that's my questions for now.
Okay.
I might remember I
Yep.
forgot something, but
Okay,
I can
sounds
come
good.
back to it later.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to get on with the public speaking, and if you haven't, we have these blue cards to fill out, and we have, I think, a lot of speakers tonight, so do you guys have the timer that you're using? We have the 3-minute time, and so if you have questions and things, the public hearing is to get everybody's input and comments, and then after we close the public hearing, then the staff can answer questions that come up. So with that being said, we do have a Chris, sorry. So is it Chris-Ann Albaugh? I'm just calling them in the order I got them here. If you just state your name for the record.
Yes,
and then
I'm Chris-Ann Albaugh, 630 Crestview neighbor. And I just had a real quick question about the parking that I think you could answer. Were there 2 parking structures with underground parking?
Yeah.
There's just the one, and that entrance, I think you just said a minute ago, was off of
Yeah.
Kaiser, and that was it.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
my
that's great, because, on some of the questions they come up at the end of the session, we'll have staff or them answer them, but I was glad he was able to answer there, so.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And then next, I have, is it Ahmed Nikpour? Is that how you pronounce it? Sorry about that.
Yes, Hamid Nikpour from Gulf Villa 1. So our main concern at Gulf Villa is the noise that we experience even today. They're supposedly at 10 o'clock, weddings, parties are supposed to end, but they don't. We have called the police several times. As Vander Elan was mentioning, our subdivision is across the street on Tierra Vista, and the residents along the street are right across the street from the golf course, and even today we experience a lot of noise. Now you can imagine that you're going to have another 28 bedrooms right across the street from us. So we're going to have a lot of issues with noise. I don't know, we were told, oh yeah, we don't have to worry about it, we've done noise studies. I don't know how they can do noise studies with a bunch of golfers at, 11 o'clock at night who are partying at Victory. That's our main concerns.
Okay. All right, well, thanks for your input.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that.
Can I ask a clarification on that?
Clarification from the speaker?
Just on his statement, where's the noise coming from? Because the clubhouse is quite a ways, the main area's in. So what do you get noise from?
So even, as I said, although they're, I don't know how far they are from our subdivision, but we still hear noise, music noise, parties, because the clubhouse, when they have parties, they leave the doors open a lot of times. Or they're outside, they're on the lawn in front of the clubhouse. So there's noise even at 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, next up, we have Elaine O'Connor.
Hi, good evening. My name is Alan O'Connor. I'm with Camaraderie Clubs. We are the tenant at Spanish Hills. We've been there for about 4 years now. We took over right before COVID, and on the heels of about 10 plus years of the club struggling financially. And so we are in full support of this project. As the tenant and operator of Spanish Hills, we urge you to approve the bungalows and lofts, which are critical to the club's long-term viability. The bungalows and lofts will greatly benefit the club's event and banquet business, which include weddings, charity events, charity golf tournaments, and other golf tournaments, which are significant and critical revenue sources. And it would allow our members to have a place for their visiting families and guests to stay at the club. And as I mentioned before, since taking over in 2020, it's been an uphill battle to become profitable. Therefore, it is important we find as many ways as possible to create, a more financially, sustainable model. We think that the plans are beautiful and provide great amenities for our new and existing members, such as the brand new fitness center, spa, performance therapy, yoga pavilion, Pilates, sauna, steam room, and more. And back to just from a sense of pride, Spanish Hills is Camarillo's premier private club, and this will improve the stature and prestige of the club, which in turn, will benefit the city and the community and be something to be proud of for everyone. I think just on the note relative to the distance from where the furthest bungalows are to the Golf Pro Shop where you would check in, I've walked it 100 times. It's about a 2-minute walk. And I think the cool thing about the how it's laid out, you have those locations have a more impressive view, so they'll be desirable, but they're a little bit more of a walk, whereas there's other units that are just closer and the same distance that someone parking to go golf would walk to get to from their bungalow unit to the Golf Pro Shop. So from a location standpoint, I think it works out just fine. But yes, please, thank you for your time, and we really support this project.
Thank you for your input. And then next up, we have Kent Coleman.
Just to clarify, the underground parking would accommodate 45 cars, is that correct? 40? Okay. And how many parking spots are there now in that area near the tennis court? Do you happen to know? Above ground? Okay. And I just would second Hamid's statement about the noise. I live about 3.5 blocks away from the club. I'm a member of the club. And the noise can get pretty loud at night, too. And it's not 10 o'clock, it's not 11, it's after 11. So I want to take that into consideration about that. And I thought Beverly asked some great questions.
Thank you for your input.
You're welcome.
And then Casey Calcagno, I pronounced that correct?
Yes, thank you. Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Casey Calcagno. I'm the general manager of the Spanish Hills Club. Proud to say so, and also proud to note that I am a resident. My wife, Maddie, and I, we live in Camarillo, and born and raised in the community, and attended Camarillo Heights Elementary and Monte Vista Middle School. And I urge you to pass this project, and we proudly support this project as we believe it elevates not only the member experience, but what a great elevation to our community. And I thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. let's see, Elizabeth, is it, how do you pronounce your last name?
Yeah, yes. Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Tench. I'm a resident of Gulf Villa 1. The noise level, traffic, yeah, those are problems, but I have a bigger problem, which is very important to most of us who live here, is the parking space they're putting in. It's directly to our entrance going out. As it is, it's a big dangerous situation for even the residents going out, because the exit going to the street is on the hill, and it's curvature, and people do drive very fast. And so it's amazing that we haven't killed anyone in there. I cannot imagine putting another driver, at the parking exit facing right directly at us coming out of that street. In fact, I cannot see having another car exit coming out that whole street because it's on the hill. And the property, I mean, this they are proposing that 40 40 people there who will be adding to this place would add very little traffic. 40 people is a lot in a small street, driving very fast, and a very bad visual curves and hills. And nobody clicks the speed limit. Even we have a speed sign on it, and then we have a camera. It doesn't deter people driving fast. And so I really appreciate if you really think about this situation. It's really top concern for residents who live there. That's my concern.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Was there anybody else that would like to speak on this agenda item? Okay, I had one pink card, which is a nonverbal public comment, and I'll read the question, and then maybe staff or the applicant can address it after I close the public hearing. Is that Mr. Moe, is that the proper protocol? Okay, the question was just they wanted to know what would be the cost per night to stay in the loft. I think that would be a question for the applicant, and does he need to answer that during the public hearing?
He can answer it right now. The public hearing is still
Okay.
open, if you want to call him back up.
If you know the answer. You got to come up, please. Yeah, sorry.
The answer is fluid. The market is changing every day right now, very rapidly. So I mean, I could give you an answer right now, but that might not necessarily be the answer when the project comes online. It's going to be priced somewhere in, I think Burnham Wood, the rates that they go for their cottages, I think that would be a fair comparison.
And what's the range that they have?
I think their average ADR is about 700 to 750 a night, I want to say.
Okay. I imagine it's probably seasonal and those kind of things, too,
Correct.
just like any place else.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, if seeing no further speakers, I'll close the public comment section, close the public hearing. And then did staff want to make any comments or response to the public hearing? No? Okay, and then so the Architectural Review Committee, it'd be time to get that report.
Hold
Is
on.
Beverly, are you gonna?
I put it somewhere, but basically, yes, the Architectural Committee looked at this, and we felt that it's got the white finish and it has some tan offsets to it, which give it some interest. Plus, it kind of changes up square sides with curves in the windows and arches and things, so there's a lot of visual differences to it. It doesn't look like, just a big box, so it's very interesting to look at. And with the tile roof and the white and the tan colors, and it actually conforms to, Camarillo's design elements with the Spanish mission style. So our recommendation is to approve it as far as the architectural.
Okay, thank you for that report. So at this point, do the commissioners have any comments or have any questions for staff before we go to a vote? Yes, Commissioner Lamont?
Thank you. Well, I want to thank the residents who came out to the hearing, and those of you who shared your comments are always valuable. And I know it's rainy and cold, and you're here rather than being in your warm homes. So I appreciate that. So I have a question about, well, I'll say that, I think generally it's an interesting and great project. The Country Club is a point of pride for the city and for residents. I also think that there is room for improvement to mitigate some of the issues that were raised, and also an opportunity to address current concerns from residents. I do think that I agree with the exemption to CEQA, that it complies under the infill guidelines 15332. But I'm concerned about that new entrance. I didn't realize that the maps that we have in our packets don't show where the entrance is to the subdivision, and that's why I wanted to see it, and didn't realize that it's directly across from that entrance. And so I would like to hear from the city about what mitigation can be developed, what measures can be developed to ensure traffic safety, whether it's speed bumps, since we've heard that there's issues already with speeding through there, and now we're going to have residents going in and out of the subdivision with people going in and out of the bungalows, together with the current speed issues.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair Lamont. So I will say that in terms of the driveway that's proposed, it does meet city standards and traffic standards as it stands. There's also a condition that identifies that during the technical review, we'll make sure it meets site distance requirements. But honestly, in the initial review of it, we didn't identify concerns with that it would be able to meet our city standards and traffic standards.
I can't hear him. Excuse me. But having heard just anecdotally that there is existing speed issues, and now there's going to be more traffic there, what's the opportunity for consideration of additional mitigation measures?
Yeah, we would have to analyze it. We could analyze it like we do streets where we receive complaints about speeding or traffic. I wouldn't be able to say, off the top what exactly would be proposed, but it's something we could, visit with our traffic engineer.
Okay, great, thank you.
Just to piggyback on that one, is if after it's built, if they identify an issue with that, could it come back under the CUP to add a condition at that point, or?
Chair, if I may, so if there are specific issues with the layout, the commission, it's within the commission's purview to ask the applicant to redesign it, if that's where the commission is going with it. If there's issues after the fact, the commission can certainly notice the conditional use permit and reconsider whether it wants to revoke the conditional use permit. Those are a couple different options you have.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I jumped in front of you guys. Either of you have comments? Commissioner Vandermolen?
Mine, for staff, is there any way that they could look and consider if there are some stop signs that could be placed along that street in a couple places to maybe slow down cars as they go, and kind of review that while they're working on this? And also, I suppose that because they put the parking garage on that side, did they ever try to put the entrance, somehow design the entrance so that you could get into the parking garage from the parking lot rather than the street?
Thank you, Commissioner Vandermeulen. I could speak to the first one in terms of stop signs. So there are warrants that are required. I'm not aware of any warrants that are required for these roadways. we could visit it. It would be the traffic engineer and the analysis, but I wouldn't, I haven't heard of any warrant. There's a process that we go through to identify a stop sign, and the requirement for it. And then in regards to the design of the driveway, the applicant will probably speak to that. We review what the applicant proposes, and the proposed driveway did meet city and traffic standards.
Yeah, I can see where it would meet codes and your issues, but I also see where it's not in a great place when you've got an entrance to the 5, I keep wanting to call them casitas, the bungalows, and then you've got to drive right across the street from that into the housing area. So you've got 3 driveways basically pretty much together. And, so I can see where down the road that could be an issue once it's built and in use.
Chair, if I may, before receiving any additional testimony, I would suggest opening the public hearing
Okay, then we're required to get some response from that to open it further.
from the public.
Okay.
Do you want me to do that, or do you want me to sit down?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing if you have an answer to that.
So just to answer your question, there were several reasons why. So on Kaitira Vista, it slopes down like this. So the grade is going down. So when you're doing a below grade parking structure, subterranean parking, is that the grade was already dropping. So it made more logistical sense to put the entrance there because the grade was going in our favor for a subterranean parking garage. Also is if we brought it around the other way, we would lose several above ground parking spots that we deem necessary, and we would lose at least 1 bungalow. So those were the reasons combined that we chose to come off Kaitira Vista. I would also like to say for some of the things that Ms. Lemon, you're bringing up, as well as, sorry, I can't read your name, but the other commissioner, is if there was some condition that someone wanted to propose about, us having to put in speed bumps or stop signs, we'd be more than happy to accept that. Oh, sorry, and one more thing is that elsewhere on Kaitira Vista, actually further down, so as the street keeps sloping down, where arguably the cars would be going faster in theory, there's 2 golf cart passages where the golf carts have to cross the entirety of Kaitira Vista to get from one side of the course, to the next hole. So cars that are going down that road consistently are aware of those golf carts just being out in the middle of the road, so they have to be cautious of that, and I would think that they would already be slowing down as to make sure that they're not going too fast and can stop in time before hitting a golf cart. So just wanted to make that point as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on. Can I ask him one more question while he's here?
Yes.
Okay, on the noise issue, you can't be expected, or it's not gonna happen if the noise that you're hearing now is already from the clubhouse that's there. But is there anything that you can do to signage or notes to the residents that borrow this, or, that are renting here?
To keep it down?
On their terraces, that, that they're either quiet times or
Absolutely.
no parties allowed, or something like that on those terrace areas that are open?
Yes, absolutely.
Because some of those terraces are big enough to have a party in.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Just-
very acceptable.
If you would keep that in mind, that would help.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then Mr. City Attorney, can other speakers speak again then, because we reopened, or
Yeah, other members of the public can address the commission.
anybody else want to address or respond to his comments? Yeah,
I feel very passionate about this parking space they're coming out. I think the people who actually live there and the street have experience driving, coming out of that street, how dangerous that spot is. Even I read who lives there constantly have to watch people who walk. We have a lot of people walking there. It's not just the car alone that we have to watch out. We have people who exercise. And you are talking about losing a bungalow. We're talking about people's lives here, an accident. And I think that's much more important, whether they're losing money here. And this is very serious, and I feel like that considering locating the entrance is far less expensive and a wiser thing at this point than build it and have us screaming and go on Raleigh to change at that point. So I beg you to examine carefully and listen to people who live here. I've been living here nearly 25 years. I'm an original owner. And I think, I'm not saying this project is great. I think their project is a wonderful project. I would like to see improving in Camarillo. However, it has to be with some reasonable way. It has to be cost effective and people has to be safe. And as far as the noise is concerned, I'm sure they'll do all they could, put the sign, but it's gonna happen. Either side has to compromise. But safety, we cannot compromise. And I truly am concerned. But this we cannot have. This stop sign will not change. Putting speed sign, that will not change either. And he's talking about the grade going down. That's another reason you cannot put I mean, I think our builder, for our golf builder, made a mistake putting the entrance there, personally, because it's really dangerous. We have 40-some houses in our complex, and we have, each house has minimum 2 cars. And you can imagine how dangerous it is. And please do consider putting a different spot.
Okay.
Thank you.
If someone else had their hand up that they wanted to speak?
Can I just talk from here, or do you?
No, because I guess they're filming it, so they won't be able to hear you unless you're at the podium. Sorry about that.
I've been a golf member of Spanish Hills for 30 years. I've lived in the area for 20 years. I ride my bike up that hill. I walk down the hill. I'm very familiar with the traffic patterns there, and people do go at a very high rate of speed there. And when they're going down that hill, their speed picks up. They really don't slow down. Some people do, but most people don't. So it's very dangerous for everyone, is what I would comment about it, having been around 20, 30 years. I'm going to try to hang on for another 20, 30 years too, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, yes, someone else wants to speak. And after you speak, if you haven't filled out a blue card, would you do so we could have it for the record after you speak?
Yes, my name is Barbara Coleman, and I live on Via Aracena. And the speeders are actually people from Sterling Hills. They come barreling down the highway, I mean the via Tierra Vista. And I'm going to tell you, when I'm turning right into Via Torado, they're always passing me, and I've seen so many of them just slamming on the brakes because there's somebody coming up the hill. And I think what we need to do, you need to consider, is perhaps putting speed bumps there. I think that would slow a lot of them down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Good idea.
Okay, now we'll close the public hearing, right? Oh, yep.
One more point that I would like to make is just about in the same location as the proposed subterranean parking garage right now is the service entrance for the club. And there's arguably more traffic that goes in and out of there today through the service entrance than there would be with the underground parking structure. And there's also, I mean, that's where all their vendors come in, all the big trucks use the service entrance. So obviously those people would not be going into a subterranean parking garage with low clearance. Those would just be cars, normal vehicles, not, big trucks hauling event supplies and whatnot. So just wanted to let everyone know, keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll close the public hearing.
Chair, if I may. So I'd just like to point out, so for the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission's authority is restricted to the private property. It doesn't extend beyond to the public works areas, to the public right-of-ways. Those issues would have to be addressed directly through the Public Works Department and the city engineer. So for purposes of this discussion, I would suggest the Planning Commission confine it to conditions or a discussion really oriented around what can be done on the private property itself.
Okay. Any commissioner comments?
It's a little difficult on this one because it is, I think it's a great project and it has a lot of benefits to it. And I'm hoping that they can, pay attention to what's been said. I think, like I say, I think the noise for this part can be monitored. The noise that the residents here are hearing are coming from something that's not going to change with this plan. So, what's going in here doesn't look like it's really going to add to additional noise, but it's not, you can't do anything about the noise. This isn't going to do anything about the noise that's already there. So, I am just a little concerned, but if this was, so the entrance for the service entrance now, which it looks like they'll have to come down on the other, like the west end of the area, a lot of these things, have been kind of taken into consideration, it sounds like. So it's, I'm still kind of torn, but it's, I think it has more good than not.
Yeah.
Did you need to close the public hearing?
Yeah, you were saying to me, I said I closed the public hearing. I guess slam this down too. Is that what I? Oh, okay. I thought maybe you didn't hear me. Yeah. We closed the public hearing. Not official. Okay. So what's the commissioner's pleasure?
Well, I appreciate council's clarification because that was a point of confusion for me as to what the particular scope is of what we're determining here and what we have authority over. And so that's what my question was for the staff as to like what had been discussed for what city action, or studies could be taken to ensure that we're complementing the project and addressing the concerns. But my understanding is that where we don't have the authority to direct that.
That's correct.
So what would be the process either for the city to initiate it or for a member of the public to initiate that?
So I would have to defer to staff as to what the process is in terms of if someone wanted to install a stop sign or speed bumps. I'm not familiar with that. Again, I'll defer to staff. But for purposes of the Planning Commission's consideration, if it is Planning Commission doesn't like the way the drive aisle is situated, it can ask the applicant to redesign it and come back with a design that addresses the comments that have been raised here, or it can take an action based on what's in front of it today. Those are kind of the options that the Commission has at this time.
I had a question of the staff, though, as part of the approval process and everything. I mean, this is a conceptual thing. You guys do further review and study of the road situation? Could you add that as a condition, or would that be too late to do that, to have speed bumps or something like that?
Vice Chair, I'm sorry, Chair, if I may answer that. So that would be, again, outside the Planning Commission's purview. Speed bumps, anything in the right-of-way is beyond the Planning Commission's consideration.
Right, but I just wondered if you guys still during the process, would that be something that they would make a condition? Not part of our approval, but that's part of the process?
Yeah, as kind of was mentioned, as far as the public right-of-way and the public process, that's handled through separate requests. So we do receive requests for perhaps speeding or some other items. That's handled through any other process, not as a condition. So we're just looking at the the private improvements as they relate. So the driveway itself is the site distance for the driveway itself in regards to, and then we account for the speed that's out there and any speed studies that are done.
But as a follow-up to that, but when there are other developments, the city surely takes into account traffic flow and lights, to stop, stop lights and signs. So as part of the private project.
For major projects, part of the CEQA process, there could be a condition in this regard. because of the type of project it is. There's no, I guess, requirement or for any public improvements that are needed as that through the CEQA process.
Okay, and just for to clarify and for the, particularly for the public's benefit, I still didn't hear what process, like what is the pathway then for the right-of-ways?
Oh, for the process. Yeah, it would, honestly, I'd have to defer to our traffic engineer. They'd reach out to me, or I could, talk to the traffic engineer. But there is a process, especially when it comes to speed bumps. They're a pretty complicated issue. Some people like them and the impacts associated with them. So we have procedures and policy that we go through for that. Unfortunately, I don't know the specific details to that, but the process, if there is a request or public concern on that, would be to contact me or the traffic engineer.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Murphy.
Yes, I guess I should first clarify whether Calle Tierra Vista is a public roadway? Is it public? Okay. Yes?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I think I've heard enough here tonight, enough concerns from the residents in this area that safety is a legitimate concern, and that should be addressed possibly in the traffic study. And the traffic study provided that's a trip generation, vehicles only. There was no safety analysis for that roadway in the study. And what I would suggest, and I could certainly move that we add this to the conditions of approval, that the traffic study includes a safety analysis. I'm a little concerned about the left turn movements into the parking structures. You have vehicles that will be stopping on the road to make that left turn. In the event there's oncoming traffic in the opposite direction, that should be included in the study. There should be a sight distance study. It is on a curve, and that should be added to the traffic study as well. And traffic calming devices. There are means by which traffic engineers can study the current traffic movements and what percentage of those that use that road on a regular basis are exceeding the traffic, the allowable speed. There are ways to do this, and I believe that at least those three items could be added to the traffic report, or the city could, by separate analysis, address those items. But I think that should be added to the study, and I'm willing to make that motion to add that as a condition of approval to this application.
Chair,
Otherwise, I think the project looks great. It's unique. It's creative.
Did you
Chair,
have
if
a
I
comment,
may,
City
so in response to that comment, the safety analysis and a traffic impact study may substantially change the Planning Commission's findings. So if it wanted to have that information before it made a decision, it would be more appropriate to ask the applicant to come back with that information and make a decision here today, and then receive that information, which would obviously change the Planning Commission's decision. So that would be my first comment. My second comment is that for the traffic analysis, it would strictly be focused on the private property and not public improvements in the public right-of-way. It would just be focused on safety elements that could be incorporated onto the private property to calm traffic or address the concerns that were raised.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand that. So in that, the private property would be the entity that would be generating the safety concerns. It would not be under our purview. If you could clarify, please.
So I would defer to staff. Is there a traffic study that was prepared for this project?
So a traffic study was done. The only finding, well, it was a less than significant finding, was in relation to the VMT. There was potential hazard screening done, and because the project did not require the construction of roadway infrastructure or create an incompatible use, it was determined that there was no impact, and that's from our CEQA guidelines from May 2020. So in that way, per our CEQA guidelines, it was screened as not having potential hazards because there was no construction of roadway infrastructure or the creation of an incompatible use.
So Chair, what the commission could do is it could rely on that finding, or as the commissioner pointed out, the alternative would be to have the applicant supplement that traffic study to address some of the issues that have been raised here, specifically about speed and safety, and then to incorporate any of the findings that it finds into the project so that it addresses those concerns, so that they don't have, those improvements don't have to be made on the public right of way, they can be addressed on the private project. Does that make sense?
Well, if the traffic calming study indicated that, say, speed bumps or a stop sign or whatever traffic calming device is recommended for the road, for Calle Tierra, that would not be on private property. I think I'm getting tripped up in this, and I'm sorry about that, but
Yeah, I think, if I heard this right, the CEQA and the last study was done before we planned this whole court area, or before the developer planned this whole court area and the underground parking or the building parking. So would it even apply to what is there currently being planned?
The traffic impact study, it took into account, yes, the proposed use.
This proposal?
Yes, it did.
From 2020?
So when I referenced May 2020, well, that's our CEQA environmental guidelines. And yes, the study was prepared some time ago, but it did take into account the proposed use.
Okay.
You had a comment, didn't you?
Yeah, I think that is this issue of what's within the project and the private property that's going to exacerbate the current safety concerns, is what's unsatisfactory, right? And so, and that's why I was asking, the staff, like, what can be done proactively, perhaps, so that the project can move forward and the traffic safety issues are addressed. Because a study, is one thing, it makes findings based on guidelines, but the lived experiences of people, who are really the experts, on the safety hazards because they live it, they experience it on a day-to-day basis, should be considered as well. So I'm looking for some support, on figuring out some pathways forward so that we can move forward on the project and also address the safety concerns.
Yeah, I could more just to reiterate, in terms of the process of within our public right-of-way and any, I guess, speeding or traffic concerns, there's a process for it. Unfortunately, it's not an easy process and a speedy process. It does take some time to go through that. So I unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to say we would be able to propose any improvements within the public right-of-way. It would follow that process and make sure it's vetted through, and it doesn't create or exacerbate issues, as you mentioned. So unfortunately, that's the best I could provide at this time.
So what's the pleasure here? We can't make a motion to, that would include taking a look at that, the traffic.
So the commission could make impose a condition that the applicant prepare a traffic study or supplement the traffic study with a safety analysis. But if the planning commission makes a decision here today, it's making it on the information presented today. It would just require him to, or require them to revise that study after the fact. So it wouldn't incorporate, the planning commission's decision wouldn't incorporate any of those safety measures. Alternatively, it could approve the project based on what was presented here today and based on the city staff's representation that there is a process that residents can go through. Obviously, that would be after the fact.
Go ahead.
Can we impose a condition where we are requiring the applicant to conduct the traffic and safety analysis and to pursue the process with Public Works? So that where there is, certainty that there will be action taken with the city for the public right away.
Planning commission could impose it as a condition, but again, the private the public aspect of it is it's beyond the planning commission's purview.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to relay on behalf of the applicant, there's a real willingness here to work with the city on implementing whatever safety measures or things in the public right of way. So there's a willingness.
Great. So the applicant would consent to a condition that would require them to conduct the study and then pursue with the city making those improvements.
I think and we can find the particular wording after the fact, but I think the condition should reflect is that they must incorporate any of the mitigation measures that are identified in the study on the private property side of things. And that would still leave the avenue available for any residents to contact the city and see if there's an opportunity for them to install speed bumps or some other safety calming device.
So we wouldn't, are you saying that we would not be able to condition and require the applicant to pursue with Public Works, to open up a proceeding or a request?
You can condition the applicant to do so, but again, that's on public property. So for the private side, what the planning commission can do is again condition that they incorporate whatever safety devices are identified into the private development, and additionally that they also contact the city.
So I think we're ready to vote. Do you want to try to word that motion with a?
Well, I just want to say I appreciate the applicant's willingness and wanting to be a good neighbor, to the residents who are directly impacted. And do you want to know whether you have anything? I know we would have to open up public hearing. Whether you have any additional thoughts, on that condition? No. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And Chair, just for the record, there was also some discussion about signage related to quiet hours for the bungalows. I'm not sure if the commission is still considering that, but it was a point of discussion.
I didn't catch that.
There was some discussion during the public hearing concerning quiet hours for the bungalow signage, imposing quiet hours. So again, not sure if the planning commission is still considering it, but it was a point of discussion.
Yeah, I heard the applicant came that they would, make rules for the thing. Do we need to make that as a condition?
We can.
We can?
Staff, is that imposed as a condition?
So the planning commission, could make that as a condition, but we do have our noise ordinance. And if they're in violation of the noise ordinance, we'd work with the management of the facility to impose quiet hours or any other mitigation.
Mm-hmm. So we wouldn't have to add that as a condition going in now?
You don't have to. We
But we
already have
could.
that tool to address that concern
Okay.
with the management company of this facility.
Okay,
What's your pleasure?
Beverly?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Yeah, in terms of the motion, Commissioner Murphy, I think, had it written out, and we can just add the additional language. I think the staff can direct us, knowing what action then we would require of the applicant to pursue, a request with Public Works. You can advise us on that part of the language, please.
Okay, so from what I understand is the request is to have staff work with the applicant to enhance the traffic study for safety and to require the applicant to contact the Public Works Department to further analyze and address any public improvements that need to be made in the public right of way.
Yes.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Sorry. And at least, but not necessarily limited to the 3 items that I mentioned, that left turn from Calle Tierra Vista into the access points, including the parking structure, the sight distance in all directions, and traffic calming devices. A study that would include the elements that are required to study that item as well.
And I'd also like to add that we have a durational period by when the applicant needs to contact Public Works after the completion of the study. I have a question for my fellow commissioners.
Yeah. I mean, is that 90 days? Would that be reasonable?
So the process to go through and request calming, traffic calming on the public right of way is a city council committee. So it'll have to run that course. So I'm not sure how long. I mean, it could be there for a while. And I don't know when their next, available agenda is. So maybe limit it to apply, to contact the city.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring
okay.
to. Yeah, so like, contact the city and make the request within 30 days after the study's completion, for example.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So did you get all that down where you could read back the motion to us?
We'll say as revised.
Okay. I have another
Yes.
comment. For the one mitigation measure is the construction activities. I would like to also include a revision to limit the hours, Saturday hours, to 8 to 5. We've heard a fair amount from residents about noise, and so I think they would appreciate not having construction on a Saturday that early.
What condition is that?
That's 141 under noise, page 19.
So the benefit of not opening the public hearing, the applicant is okay with that Saturday.
Okay.
And then I also just have a question. What's will there be an occupancy tax or fee that's applied for the bungalows and lofts?
There will be, yes.
What is that? What's the percentage? Or is there a
Oh,
set
gosh.
fee?
I might have to follow up with you on that.
It's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just like to add on, the concern for the traffic study is not only just, in my view and thoughts, not just for the residents that are there, but you're planning on having guests from other states, other areas, and other towns that aren't used to this traffic area, the housing area, the hills, and familiar with it. So we want to make it as safe as possible, also for people that are coming in from another area that aren't familiar with the drivers here and the roads and the streets.
Okay, I think that, is that it, Primity? So I'd entertain a motion with those added conditions. We need a motion and a second. Pardon me?
Want me to read the, oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So
Call
go
for
ahead.
resolution.
Yeah, go ahead and do the motion, I'll call for the resolution.
Okay. So someone will make the motion and then second it?
I motion to adopt the resolution with revisions as discussed.
Do we
I'll
need to-
second. Second.
Okay.
Okay, so then we'll call for resolution.
Okay. A revised resolution number PC 2024-1, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Camarillo approving a major modification to conditional use permit for the addition of 9 bungalows, a concierge building, parking lots, a fitness center, spa, 12 transient living lofts, and a building with a maximum height in excess of 35 feet, and a minor modification to a conditional use permit for a 20% reduction in setbacks for buildings located at 999 Crestview Avenue, the site of the existing golf course within the rural exclusive residential zone, further described and set forth as CUP-79M8.
Move to waive further reading and vote to adopt.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Mr. Murphy to waive further reading and vote for adoption, and seconded by Commissioner Vandermolen. So please vote.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandermeer,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lamone,
Yes.
Chair Etzel.
Yes.
And it was noted that Commissioner Davidson recused himself from the agenda item.
All right. Thank you. So we move on to item C, and then Mr. Davidson, and someone can tell him he can come back. Oh, he's gonna go get him. So this is CUP 420, the AT&T Mobility.
I'd rather take time and get it right.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, welcome everyone. Good afternoon, Chair Etzel, Vice Chair Limon, Planning Commissioners. Welcome to my presentation on CUP 420 for AT&T Mobility. There we go. So why are we here? Well, we have a request here by AT&T for a conditional use permit for the installation of and operation of a brand new stealth wireless communication facility, as well as the height increase beyond the 40 feet allowed in the underlying zone. Now, the project location outlined here in yellow is zoned as light manufacturing. The general plan land use designation is industrial. The address of the project is 1040 Avenida Acaso. Now, as far as the surrounding uses go, the project is surrounded on its northeast and west side by industrial uses, shown here in blue. And to the south, we have linkage, that's Callegues Creek, shown here in green. The nearest residential location is 430 feet away. You can see the red arrow over there pointing to the mobile home estate. And to the side of the location is also a city bike path that runs on the north side of Callegues Creek. Both of these locations are well below the FCC maximum permissible exposures, or MPEs as they're called, for the general public. Now, based on the worst case scenario predictive modeling presented in the EME report, it was concluded that the nearest walking surface, that the maximum power density generated by the antenna, is at 10.93% of the permissible levels under the FCC rules. Now, the attached EME report models power densities on site, and based on the report's findings, control measures in the form of cautionary signage will be installed at relevant locations on site. Now, the existing site, we're looking at it here, stood on the edge of Avenida Acaso, and the red arrow there points to, broadly speaking, to where the facility will be implemented. The building itself was approved by the Planning Commission in May 1986 as IPD 216. It is currently occupied by Infab, which is a company that makes medical-grade radiation protection and safety accessories. So if you've gone to the dentist and you've seen your X-ray tech wearing an apron, that apron is the kind of product that Infab makes. Now a little bit more on the existing site. So here we are in the back parking lot. Again, red arrow pointing to the landscaped area where the tower is proposed. So we're looking down the drive aisle towards Avenida Acaso, and to our backs is Callegues Creek. Site plan itself, so on the right you have it sort of blown out. You can see the entire building, Avenida Casa up top, and the facility, if I get my pointer there, is right here. Zoomed into the left is the actual floor plan of the proposed facility. So what we see is sort of two pieces to it. One piece is the rectangular piece here, or the square piece, should I say, here. This is the tower itself. You can see some of the cabinets here that would work in tandem with the antenna. And then attached to it, immediately adjacent here, is the equipment enclosure. Now, the equipment enclosure will have a standby generator right here. Faintly here around it, you can see the containment pad, so the generator will be subject to all usual local, state, and federal laws and regulations relating to these, and that includes air quality. Now, there will be some shrubs and some ground cover that will be removed to make way for the facility. However, there is a plan to implement complementary landscaping that will filter the views to and from the facility. There will be a single light pole that will be relocated on the site. The applicant will submit an amended photometric plan to make sure that adequate lighting at the parking lot is continuously provided. There'll be no reduction in on-site parking, nor will any of the drive aisles be constricted by this facility. There are currently no other wireless communication facilities on this site. So moving on to elevations, the tower is square, so I elected to include a couple of these. On the left, you see the north elevation. So as you would look at it, looking down the drive aisle from Avenida Acaso, in the foreground, you can just about make out the enclosure itself. It'll have, as I mentioned, landscaping, vine in this instance, growing to conceal it. To the left here is the host building. So this is the existing building on site. And dotted in here, you can see sort of the antennas that will be behind the, or encased in the structure. On the right is the west elevation, again, very similar to what we just discussed. To the left of that picture is the existing building. In between, you can see the gates to the enclosure, and of course the tower itself to the far right. Now, to aid, give us some visual aids, the applicant has prepared simulations. We have a variety of these. These are three that best represent the project, so working our way from left to center to right. On the left, we have the facility as it would be appreciated from Adolfo. Now, I do want to stress that the trees in this image here have been very freshly trimmed, so they will fill in time. However, this is the current state of affairs. Sans obviously the tower, which is superimposed here. The middle image, we're on Acaso, looking down towards the facility. So down at the bottom of that drive aisle is Callegues Creek. You can see that the facility is partially screened by the existing building and quite filtered by the existing quite mature trees on site. Now the facility is 15 foot taller than the building that it is accessory to. However, that equates to about a single story in industrial terms, so they are still very much compatible. Now on the right, or up and right, you see the view of it as it would be appreciated from across Callegues Creek. Again, we can see quite a lot of mature landscaping that would screen this tower element, making it blend in with its surroundings. It is at this point worth noting that all of the colors, materials, and textures employed in this facility will very much match the existing buildings on site. The intent here was to make this appear as if it's a building that serves an accessory use to the main structure, perhaps read as some kind of an equipment tower or cooling tower or something like that, so that to a naked eye, to a regular person, this does not read as a wireless communication facility. Might be low on batteries here. There we go. Okay, so as part of the project, the applicant submitted a justification package to us to show why this facility is required. So what you're looking at here is one of the two propagation maps. This is the one that shows the existing state of affairs. So in red, in that red square is where the facility will be located. And in the top right of that image, you'll see a legend. To make it simple, green is good, yellow is okay, and the kind of purple-pink is not great. So as you can see at the moment, the signal's quite weak in that location. And as I flick through this, and maybe I'll go back and forth a couple of times, you'll be able to appreciate the change. So this is a propagation map that shows how the signal would play out once the facility is fully operational. So what this shows is a lot of that sort of pink, reddish bits now filled in with green and yellow, which will of course improve the quality of signal for the residents of Camarillo. Now, of course, as any project in front of you, this was subject to California Environmental Quality Act. It was determined that this project is categorically exempt from CEQA under a Class 3 exemption for new construction or conversions of existing small structures. Finally, the recommended action here today by staff is to find that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA, and the adoption of the resolution approving CUP 420 subject to the recommended conditions of approval. And if I can click to this, this concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Do any of the commissioners have a question for Mike? Yes, Mr. Murphy, Commissioner Murphy.
Yes, this question has nothing to do with my review of this particular application, and it may be for the applicant. I was looking at that propagation map, and it looks to me as though the community, the senior community next to Sierra, or Padre Sierra Parish, I can't remember the name of that.
Shea Homes.
Yeah.
Shea Homes. It looks as though that will not improve the wireless reception in that area. I think I read an article in the paper about that being a big issue for that community. I don't think this facility will assist in remediating that particular problem. Is that correct?
Well, I can speak to a portion of it. I think the applicants can speak to whether there's any plans for any future facilities that might alleviate that issue. The simple answer is no. This isn't in the area that would improve the quality of the signal for that specific community. However, it does fill in a gap specifically for AT&T in providing a better service for the residents of that area that turned from pink to green. Now, I guess another thing to note is this is a specific map to AT&T. So a propagation map for Dish Wireless or T-Mobile or any of the other carriers is going to look different. And perhaps some of those gaps can be filled in by AT&T, but of course there are other carriers available. And I can't answer how well the other carriers cover that portion of the city.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, so then we'll open the public hearing. And is there anybody that wants to speak on this item?
We have the applicant here. I'm sure he's happy to answer any of your questions.
Would you like to speak, or you're here to answer questions?
I'm available.
Okay. Just state your name for the record, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chris Doheny. I'm here on behalf of SmartLink Group and AT&T Mobility, so I'm available to answer any questions, and little something to share about the question that was raised earlier, the inquiry, very early stages, but AT&T, we are working on another project in that area, so that's a possibility down the road to help cover that significant gap that you're seeing there.
Any commissioners or any questions from the commissioners of the applicant? Nope. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, then we close the public hearing. And any commissioner comment? Discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Architectural Review Committee met on this, so sorry about that.
Yeah. We looked at this, and they did a nice job of making it look like the building and blending in. The only place you really can notice it when you look at the pictures is if you're on Adolfo, looking over and seeing it from the sideway area and see the space between. And if you're driving by on Adolfo, you're not going to take the time to look at that. But, you know, from the mobile home park or from Adolfo looking down towards the creek, or not the other street, looking back towards the creek, it just looks like it's part of the building, and it's really pretty much hidden by the lower trees and the trees around it. So we thought they did a really good job on, you know, putting it together and making it match the building so it doesn't stand out and still do what it is planned to do.
Okay, thank you. So any commissioner comments on this? Call for a resolution?
Resolution number PC 2024-2, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Camarillo approving a request for a conditional use permit for AT&T Mobility for the construction of a stealth wireless communications facility located at 1040 Avenida Acaso in the light manufacturing zone, further described as CUP 420.
Move to waive further reading and vote to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Murphy and seconded by Commissioner Davidson. Please vote.
Commissioner Davidson?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Commissioner Vandermeulen?
Yes.
Vice Chair Lamont?
Yes.
Chair Etzel?
Yes. Okay, that passes. And then we move on to the next item. It says discussion items. Is that something that you got the report? No?
No
Okay.
items.
Okay, then the director's report.
Yep. So I have no items on my director's report tonight.
What's that? You have no report? Okay. And how about commissioner comments?
I have just one comment for the record. My recusal is not meant to imply whether I would have voted for or against the item, just simply that by virtue of my membership, I thought it inappropriate.
Sounds good. My comment is I thank staff for converting this room into a workable thing. I think it went pretty well. And
It's actually very comfortable.
Yeah. And so thank you. I guess it's gonna be our home for about a year anyway, huh? So, thank you.
We have our same chairs, and
Yeah.
it
So
worked
any
out.
other comments?
I didn't have really a clue as how you're going to have this set up. I tried to tune in to the city council's goal-setting plans to see what it looked like, and I couldn't get any picture of anything. So it was still just a surprise to find out what I had when we got here.
All right, with nothing further, we're in a